Hey, beautiful conscious creators. So I channeled this information a few weeks back, right around the eclipse. So I'm a little late in releasing this, but it's still relevant information. And today I want to talk about how the most recent eclipse and some of the cosmic activity happening currently with all of the solar flares and people being able to see the northern lights in places we normally can't see them. What is the importance behind these events on an ascension level? And what does it really mean for each of us and all of us on a collective level? But before I go on, it would be so helpful to me if you would like and share my video. So whenever these events take place, they're significant. And the energy that comes through on Earth at these times are of a very potent and high frequency. And this energy is available to each one of us to receive the wisdom that this light and energy carries with it, that then activates our own wisdom that lay dormant otherwise. So it's an activation. And when this wisdom is activated within us, it raises our consciousness. And when enough of us receive this activation, that's how we create heaven on earth. Now, just because the energies present doesn't mean that everyone will receive these energies as an activation. It all depends on what our soul came here to experience. And some of us, it's just not a part of our path here to ascend in that way. But nonetheless, the energy is here for that purpose. Now, this last eclipse, I was shown was really strong in awakening our purpose. And from this experience, I was being shown that there's going to be many people now wanting to connect with their purpose. What are they really supposed to be doing here in this lifetime? What is their life supposed to be versus what has it been? Now, these energies present a passageway to greater possibility and are there to detach us, literally pull us out of the lower dimensions we've been living in. Now, a lot of us already know this, but I want to give an example of how the energies of the eclipse specifically did this. So when this phenomena happened and you could see the eclipse and the sun and the moon, it was a very powerful experience to witness. And in that moment, it distracted us from what we know. If even just for a moment we can see and feel something different, that's all we need, is that one moment that pulls us out of what is familiar and all we have known in the lower densities and gives us a moment of knowing something different, something new, something so powerful to shift our attention and focus. So it's kind of like a child. You can easily distract a child, right, with a Cheerio or a toy, and all of a sudden, they've changed direction and focus. They've forgotten about what it is they were doing, and they're focused on that Cheerio or their toy. And so adults need that too. When we change focus and direction, it opens us up to the possibilities that were there, but we just couldn't see them before. And so this was a phenomenon that touched the hearts of so many people emotionally too. People were crying because they were just so moved. People flew all over the country and the world to witness this. And so now, when this many people are focused on this phenomenon, feeling the energies and witnessing something profound and pulling our energy in a new direction, there is a potency to that because everything is energy. And it got people thinking, there must be something greater for me, because this experience it bursts our bubble of limitation, because we see cosmically there wasn't a limitation with that. When we see something like that, it's not a reflection of limitation, it's a reflection of possibility. So in essence, it's a gift from the universe of hope and inspiration. And it elevates us out of our own bubble. It unites us together. It brought people together in the same experience. And it was an experience then of unity. And it was an activation of inspiration. I mean, for that time period, everybody was talking about it. The news was covering it. They were talking to people, getting their comments, where they come in from, why did they, make this great effort to be a part of this, to witness this. And it pulled all of us together in that moment. It redirected our attention and our focus, and it brought us together. So it was an energy of expansion and an elevated experience, I should say, because we could see it and we could feel it for ourselves. And so for that period of time, we detached from the lower realms of generally of fear and uncertainty and into a wonderment, all at the same time. We all connected to a higher energy and frequency, but this higher energy and frequency doesn't just come and go. When it comes into the earth plane, it stays with us, and it leaves a residue of the energy of a higher vibration for us to be enveloped in. So these higher codes have been unleashed, and this is what the earth is now enveloped in, and this energy begins to assimilate its way into everything. So after this happens, we enter into an integration period where it's like adding a new ingredient into a recipe as it meshes and mixes in with the other ingredients, which is what contributes to multidimensionality. We have different vibrational frequencies that bring in different realities, all available to us at the same time. We've got the lower frequencies and then the higher frequencies that are coming in and mixing with that. Okay, so, but the higher frequencies, I should say, are becoming more prominent, right? Because that's just kind of where we are on our trajectory for ascension as a whole. So they're becoming more prominent. And because of this, these codes now have more people questioning their existence and the meaning of life. And it's really getting people to think, what do I want to do with my life? And with more and more and more people questioning this, it begins to overshadow the lower realities, because we're not just accepting those lower realities anymore. We've been exposed to higher ones through, these events and the codes that come with these events. And that energy then begins to fade and fade and fade. The old energy begins to fade and fade and fade. And so I was shown a visual on this where I was shown like a sketch of a reality or life. And then I saw this eraser come in and just start to erase that sketch little by little by little until that reality is no longer there, and it's a blank canvas. And so that was kind of the visual that I was shown, which is like what happens when these events happen. The eclipses and the solar flares and those kinds of things. So the words that came to me are, you, that outside world, you can't fool me anymore. I'm being exposed to new things, and I don't want that anymore. And so when people redirect their attention into something of a higher nature, the old fades away. And we experience this in our own lives, relationships that dissolve. We move our attention to something new, and then, new life begins to happen. And this is what happens collectively as a whole too. And so when you say, I'm not looking over there anymore, I'm looking over here, you start to create from a new focal point. Now, for many of us, these energies can be quite intense, but it's only intense if there's a resistance to the new. And so the struggle is, because a lot of us who are, sensitive to energies and we understand what's happening with these events, we'll oftentimes come together and talk about, wow, this is tough. Like it's, I'm clearing all kinds of stuff because this energy, this light comes in to show you what needs to be cleared within yourself. But the intensity comes from the resistance. So, and it's resistance to the new. The struggle is only going to be within us to accept the new because of the unconscious programs running within us and the fear of the unknown, right? The known has been, for us, has been living in this unconscious lower density world. And now with this new light coming in, we're being exposed to elevated ways of being and higher levels of wisdom. And that sometimes is going to present our human side, which is, a ball of unconscious programming, with uncomfortability and challenges when we're clearing those old programs that then come up for us to be seen. So, and also the fear of the unknown, stepping into what is the unknown. So it's powerful, but powerful good. But the thing is, we haven't been used to an abundance of good, higher light, higher wisdom. So it's unfamiliar to us. And so these events help us to become more familiar with living from a higher place because it requires us to do that. And so things like the solar flares and the northern lights and all that stuff, that's happening again too. So people are driving all over the country in the US and showing their pictures. Where can I see the lights? And posting their pictures online. And it's been covering, on the news and in the media too. It's one more beautiful cosmic event that's pulling us all together, that's uniting us, distracting us from the old, elevating us into the new. And when we see these like spectacular colors of light up in the heavens, it reminds us that that's one more reflection of possibility, of possibilities. So we are elevating so fast. It's like we're living life in the fast lane. It's all changing so fast, and that what once was true, can oftentimes change very quickly. It's not true anymore. So with every choice point that we have, it opens the doors to new possibilities. So you can't even really project out that far anymore, because really at each step of the way things change. And so, and I'm finding this even in my readings, as I'm working with people who want to project out far. You can do projections and stuff, but it's almost like there are other steps along the way that I'm usually shown in a reading that someone will have to take, because at each choice point, they're going to be presented with greater opportunities. So it's not just going to be from point A to point B. There's going to be all kinds of choices along the way. And that's kind of newer for us, when we're in the lower realms. And we weren't exposed to as much. It's like there's kind of just one path, right? Even one path. But now things are opening up. And so there's more choices, more opportunities, more possibilities. So I want to share a little bit about what I'm experiencing through this process. And I'd love to hear if this resonates with you, and, if you can share it in the comments, or what your experience has been during some of these, cosmic events. Now, I know that there are wars out there, and there's violence, and people are really struggling in some parts of the world, and even here in our own country with the protests and just all kinds of stuff going on. But in my world, I have to say, I feel like that stuff is fading, or it's more and more in the background as it fades, and not at the forefront. And so, I'm not clear yet if that's what this bifurcation of worlds looks like, where, there are higher realms and lower realms. And there's this talk about bifurcation of worlds and realities. And I think, it's becoming very clear that that is the case. There's a higher realm of realities we can choose from now, available to us, that we've been exposed to, we've experienced, we see, and then we can really see that contrast, between worlds. And so I feel like that's what it looks like. I'm not sure how it plays out because I'm still learning as we go along too. But what I do believe is that our world, our individual world, my world and your world, it's how our world is how we design it. Our world will be as we design it to be. Your world is going to be as you design it to be. My world is that as I design it to be. And that's what pure conscious creation is. So you start to see what it is you're creating, and then it becomes your world. When you're focused on that, you're aware of the creation, that's what your world becomes. And the other world where all that other stuff is going on, where, oftentimes we feel like we don't even have control over that, that world I'm finding starts to fade into the background. And I don't say that with insensitivity to others who are going through hardship, because we certainly feel that too. We cannot help but feel that, because that's what unity consciousness is about. We're dissolving that separation, becoming one more and more. And so in that oneness, we can't ignore what other people are going through. We can have compassion and sensitivity towards that. It's just I'm being shown and experiencing what it looks like when we detach from the lower frequencies and we change our focus to how it is we want our own individual world to be. So if we want peace, then we become that peace. If we want kindness, we become that kindness, and so on. And so the more we are these things on an individual level, the more our own personal world looks like that, even when unfortunate and difficult things are happening in that outside world around us. So that's really what I want to share today. I just wanted to say that these events like the eclipse and the solar flares and northern lights, they're all purposeful for what they do for each of us to elevate our lives and our world. And what I've noticed is just that it's really pulled us together in the most beautiful ways, because people are just so in awe of what they're witnessing in the cosmos. And it's detaching us when we do that from that lower realm and exposing us to limitless possibilities. And that's what I'm experiencing in my world too. The more intentional I am, with what I want my world to be and where I'm placing my attention and focus on my creation and how it is I am as a person, how it is I'm showing up in the world, that then is my world. And then my world is on the forefront and that other world is in the background. And that's how we create new earth. So I hope that helps. I would love to hear your comments below what your experience has been like at this time. And that's it. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye for now.